Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Kryptic TNG back again with another video, and yeah, haven't been able to really be doing much uploads recently. My pedals actually broke for my wheel, so I had to buy the T3 PA pedals, the pro ones, and yeah, it was a good excuse. Instead of waiting for my missus to get them for my birthday, it was a good excuse to get them early. So yeah, it's going decent. They feel a lot stronger, a lot better, not so cheap and crappy and plasticky. And yeah, if you get the chance, just get the pros. Don't even go for the other T3 PA pedals. Just get the pros. But anyway, to the point of this video is basically just to talk about F1 2016 and F1 2017, and my thoughts firstly on F1 2016. I don't think it was a bad game. It was bloody decent, to be honest with you. But I don't know. There's something about F1 at the minute. There's a gap that it just doesn't feel for me. I don't know whether it's the feeling on the steering wheel or it. I think the main thing for me is the fact that it still doesn't feel like it's overtaken the F1 games that was on last gen, and that's really my sticking point. I mean, F1 2012, 2013, and even 2010, like fundamentally, I feel like the actual racing, the actual driving felt a lot better than it does now. I don't know what it is about the handling at the minute, where it's almost as if you come off throttle and the car starts sliding, and I don't know, it feels like the front end of the car is an arcade game and the back end of the car is a simulator. Do you know what I mean? It just feels a bit weird, to be honest with you. And I formerly used to have the Driving Force GT steering wheel, which was belt driven, whereas now I've got the T300, which is brushless motors. And I don't know if it's the difference in wheel or just the difference in, you know, the game handling, but in slow corners the feeling just is not quite there, the same as it used to be on sort of F1 2013, 2012, 2010. It's not quite there, the feeling that I'm looking for in the slow corners. It just feels like it gets really light, and it just drifts and slides everywhere. And I mean, with the F1 cars in 2016, they were pretty much at the end of their cycle. I mean, the way the wheel spin's made to be like pretty difficult. To be honest, in real life, I didn't really see that difficulty, especially if you're online and you're basing the online cars on the Mercedes from the word go never seem to really struggle with the torque and the traction. So I think a lot of it's been kind of overstated. Do you know what I mean? I think F1 cars are a lot grippier than how they've been made out in this game, to be honest with you. I just seem to notice a lot of the time the car is sort of sliding into corners and you're coming out of corners sideways, but you can still get on the throttle. It doesn't really feel right to me. F1 car going sideways, to me, you're always going to be losing time. But in this game, you kind of want to get a bit of a drift on to get through the corners. So yeah, I mean, things like that. I just rather they, you know, go back to how it was in 2013. The cars had grip. They were hard enough to drive. You couldn't just slam your foot down and nothing happens. You'd still spin off into the wall without trying to sort of overstate the torque on the engines. Because for me, it hasn't really helped the racing. I'm someone I've been racing on F1. I've had every Codemasters F1 game since 2010, and I watch a lot of the races and, you know, the AOR and stuff like that. And I mean, although there's still many great drivers out there, people that can still get the job done, but the racing just doesn't seem the same. It's not as exciting as it was, and like the contact model, it's just, to me, ever since this whole turbo era has come about, the F1 games haven't really, I don't know, it's just been a bit weird. I think the handling's been a bit weird from F1 2014, when you literally going into corners and you slamming it down to first gear just to get the car to slide in perfectly while you're still full throttle. I don't know, it's just weird to me. I don't feel like that's how the car should be handling. But you know, I'm no F1 expert. It just doesn't seem that way in real life. It doesn't seem like they're sliding through all the corners in real life. So hopefully they'll get that right on the next F1 game. And again, things like assists. Now, everyone's got to use what they got to use. If you're not confident with using band assist, that's fair enough. But what I would say is, I've got a problem with them making assists faster than band assists, because to learn band assists, it does take a bit of time if you're learning from the get-go, and once you've mastered it, you then should technically have the advantage, because I mean using assist is easy enough, especially if you put on medium traction and jobs are good, and you're gonna have a pace advantage, and I don't really think that's how it should be. I mean, go back to the way it was F1 2010, 2012, 2013, where if you use band assist you definitely had the speed advantage, but it was harder, and I think that's the way they should go. That's the way the F1 game should always be built. But yeah, for me it's like with F1, they either need to decide whether they want simulation or whether they want the arcade version. I think going down the simulation road is dangerous. It's very dangerous, because I think if you were to make F1 like almost a full sim, it'd probably lose a lot of fans. Me, I don't mind either way. I love I love a simulation game. You see, all I pretty much play is Project Cars, Assetto Corsa anyway, so I wouldn't mind a real simulation game. But when they're stuck in between the two, I just feel like it affects the handling, and you're not getting, the cars don't feel quite right to me. But yeah, I think although people might say 2013 was arcadey, for me the wheel-to-wheel racing was a lot better. You had the side pod glitches and stuff like that, but wheel-to-wheel the racing was better. And I feel like you were getting, I don't know, just the base game to me is more quality. Now, in the recent F1 game, F1 2016, I love the tyre strategies and stuff like that, and pretty much there's a lot about the game that is great, but the actual racing I don't think is the same. I don't think it's been the same for a while, so hopefully that's something that they can work on. I mean, we don't know what to expect from the next F1 game, how the cars are going to feel. They're supposed to be a lot more grippy and whatnot. Hopefully they've sorted out just the way how it's a bit laggy when you're racing online, and if you touch someone you spin off and spear off into the wall and stuff like that. It's just a bit, it's not the same, especially it's not the same for league racing. It's not the same for when you want to battle wheel to wheel. But at the same time, when you're going wheel to wheel with people, you should always be aiming not to make any contact whatsoever. But there's sometimes where you pretty much just you've brushed the car in front and you've lost half your wing. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit weird, should I say? But I mean, there's loads of things I think they could implement, especially on the career mode side. And I know obviously with Liberty Media taking over F1 now, I would hope they can bring in a lot more things. For me personally, I think that F1 needs to take a look at FIFA and FIFA's involvement in real life football in general. There's a connect. They feel like there's a connect with real football and FIFA. You always see little things on TV or on YouTube where a lot of real life football players are playing FIFA, or they're meeting FIFA YouTubers, or they feel like there's that connection between the game and real life. And with F1 there's just no connection with the actual sport. There's none. So I mean, it's an F1 game, but other than that it's just nothing, no connection. It's just dead. But yeah, things I'd like to see for the next F1 game, I mean, especially for career mode, or if you just want to do like a championship, single player championship, I would like to see things like driver stats, and instead of just having just a generic that's Lewis Hamilton, that's Vettel, or whatever, they should actually have driver strats and driver traits, so they do things similar to what they would do in real life. For instance, if Vettel manages to get in front the first 3 laps, he should be rapid. Do you know what I mean? Hamilton should have an amazing quali trait, which always allows him to be pretty quick in qualifying, because sometimes you play this game and for some reason Hamilton's in a Mercedes but he's qualified 5th, 7 tenths off of Rosberg. Like, it's not happening. It's not happening in real life. The only way that would happen is if, I know, there's rain and the track dries up and stuff like that. So like driver traits, if you had like Max Verstappen, very aggressive defender, you had Ricardo, late breaker, stuff like that, just to spice things up. And also driver transfers. Not sure how likely this is to happen, but Yeah, at least then, if they did implement driver transfers, you would still be getting that personality from the driver, even if he was in a different team. So, for instance, if Hamilton went to, I don't know, say for instance sake, if he went to Force India, he would still have certain traits that would allow him to sort of be himself. He would still have certain traits that would allow him to be able to push that Force India into places where it probably wouldn't get in another driver's hands that didn't have similar traits. Do you know what I mean? So I mean, there's loads of things, loads of ideas you could put in. I'd like to see something like a track builder or something like that, and just like competitions where you can like build your own tracks and whatnot, and the winning track, I don't know, you get to play it online or something crazy, just something where there's some kind of interaction. I know they've got the little events that pop up on the PS4 and stuff like that, but yeah, I mean, I don't really do them. I can't, to be honest. They don't interest me. But if it was something like where you could build your own track, or do you know what I mean? If you had sort of, you could choose from about, I don't know, 50 different corners, and you can implement sort of 90-degree right, 90-degree left hairpins and stuff like that. It might be something pretty fun to do, especially if you could get to play them online and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, there's loads of ideas. There's loads of things I think they could do to spice up F1, because apart from league racing, it does seem just a little bit boring, and it has been that way for quite a while. Um, yeah, I think especially for me, like I think it would be very important to have driver ratings and stuff like that, because it gives you the sense that you're actually racing, like you're actually racing against the not just AI, but you're racing against a real life person. It would make it feel like that because of how they're driving. So hopefully that's something we can see in the future. Also, I mean, esports. I mean, it's the way to go at the minute. They've got to do something with esports. They've got to sort of make they can make F1 so much bigger, because when I first started racing, I didn't play anything apart from F1. I didn't care about real simulations. I didn't care about Gran Turismo. I didn't care about no other game. I wasn't even, to be honest, even when the PS4 came out, I only got the PS4 really for F1, and it ended up being more about Project Cars for me, because it just had a little bit more. Just it was just interesting. It was a lot more interesting than F1, and I don't even play Project Cars career mode, but the way how you used to be able to just jump in an online lobby, have a race, and it's just that's not really there anymore. But they've got competitions like esports, which is massive now, and I think for F1 to step up to that next level, they need to get involved in esports. They need to, and there's so many fast people. There's so many competitions that they could run, and people will be interested, because my first love in motorsport is F1. If the F1 game was as good as I think it could be, I probably wouldn't play Project Cars as much, and I love Project Cars. So hopefully that's something that they do. I mean, they might not do it for the next F1, but maybe F1 2018, which is, I know it's way off, but they definitely need to get involved, and get involved in the esports, and just generally have a better connection with the actual sport itself, because you don't see anything really of the game linked with real life drivers or the real sport, or anything. And I mean, like FIFA, and FIFA's they're just involved everywhere. You see them on the ad boards in real matches. You see a load of stuff on TV with the players doing little FIFA challenges and stuff like that. F1 needs to learn from that, and hopefully they will do. But yeah, I know it's a bit of a long video, I'm rambling on, but I just want them to make F1 great again. Do you know what I mean? I want to be not bored when I'm playing F1. And I mean, sometimes when you're in the race, yeah, it's in the race, you always get the feeling of, yeah, I'm racing. So you don't think about it as much when you're racing, but when you just take a step back and you look at how the previous games used to be, and I think about all the old league races I used to do, and it's like the racing was just so much better than it is now. So much better. But yeah, I mean, so hopefully with the change of regulations to the new cars, hopefully the handling's a lot better. And another thing, please do something about your force feedback. I come off of Project Cars, I set a course out, and I jump on F1, and I'm just like, what is this? It's garbage. The force feedback in F1 is garbage, and it never used to be a problem before because there wasn't really that many racing games, but there is now. There's competition now. They need to sort of go a little bit more in depth with their force feedback. As I've said, I'm not a massive fan of the handling on this game. I think it's very weird. I think the way the cars handle is very weird, but the force feedback is just, it's not, I'm not someone who likes a very heavy strong wheel. It's not about that, but there's almost nothing there. As soon as you come off throttle, as soon as you slow down and you get into a slow corner, it's just light, empty. And they need a lot more. They really do need a lot more feeling in the front end of the car, and hopefully they can bring that, because whenever I jump off onto F1, it always takes me about half an hour to even go anywhere near the times I was getting when I was playing it, when I was getting used to it. And it's that bad. To be honest, I don't even play F1 that much anymore. I just don't. It's lost that whole appeal to me. And if I was to make like a wish list for the next game, better handling, better online lobbies, I mean, better wheel-to-wheel action with the way the contact model is, they need to fix that. I'm not saying that you should be able to sort of slam your wheels into another car and nothing happened, but there's some instances where the slightest touch and you've lost your front wing, you're off into the wall, your wheels come off, and all sorts of madness. And it kind of does affect the racing a little bit. I think F1 needs to decide whether it wants to be a sim or an arcade game. It can't be half and half, because it doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work. And for me, F1 2010 was probably a little bit more sim, because it was quite difficult with band assist and stuff like that, but the racing was great. It's the same as F1 2013. That was probably a little bit more arcadey, because although it had its slight challenges with braking, the traction wasn't too bad, but the game almost knew what avenue it was trying to cover, and it was a great game. It was a great game for racing, online lobbies. That was a great game. That's my favorite F1, probably 2013. I like 2012 also, but on 2012 they did something weird with the steering wheels. I didn't like it. So yeah, let's just get back to basics. I know they've got experience like sim racers who have developed their handling, but I think that's part of the problem. I know David Greco, I know he did like FSR and stuff like that, but this isn't FSR. Do you know what I mean? This isn't R Factor 2 or whatever it is. This is F1 on the PS4. Do you know what I mean? We don't need that complicated handling system that just doesn't need to be there, sliding through corners and stuff like that. The real F1 cars don't slide through corners. If they did, they'd be killing their tires 24/7. So I think that's something they need to eradicate from the game altogether. That sort of sliding thing they've had since bloody 2014. It's garbage. It's just no. I'm not on it. Let's get back to how it used to be. You used to have decent amount of grip, but still retained a certain level of difficulty. And yeah, I think it was easier for people to just jump on, play the game, and yeah, you seem there was less idiots online on 2013. I swear, I don't know what it is. I don't know why people will go out and buy a PlayStation to jump online and just do stupid things. I don't know. It's just me. It just seems like there's a lot more idiots online these days than there used to be back in 2013 days. But yeah, I mean, I know it's been a bit of a long video. I've been rambling on, but it's just hopefully just make a better game. That's all I'm waiting for. Just a better game, something that's going to get me off Project Cars, because if it carries on the way it's going, I can see the numbers on F1 dropping, man. And Project Cars, I've seen the trailer. Project Cars 2 looks crazy. So hopefully F1 can do something that's going to get people talking about F1 again. So yeah, what kind of things do you want to see for the new F1 games? What kind of things do you think they should improve or change? Leave it in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace. I'm out.